So the officer gives his statement, and his point of view, I mean, he just totally, of course, he covers his own ass, you know, because he knows that he did an illegal search on my car. So he proceeds to pretty much, after swearing on the Bible that he's going to tell the truth, he decides to get up on to stand and basically tell the judge and the DA and my attorney that he pulls up to the residence and I'm inside the car and the car smells like marijuana and stuff like this, and that he told me to get out the car and stuff, and then I handed him my wallet, which, okay, you know, all these things just kind of sound stupid. Then he proceeds on to telling the judge that I told him I smoke, which would be, I mean, I know that I do have the card to actually carry marijuana and have marijuana on my person and actually use it, but I've also been told that I don't have to, there's no reason for me to tell the officer that I smoke. So of course, you know, me being me, that would be something that I wouldn't even disclose to the matter, because he doesn't know whether I use it to smoke or whether I use it to make food that I eat with or whatever, which I felt at that point in time was none of his business. So I didn't, once he went through my wallet and everything and violated my person and found out that I had that card in there and started asking questions based on that, I didn't feel any reason to say anything to him. But instead, he comes into court and he basically tries to cover his own self by saying that my car smelled like weed to try and justify his search, which is why he tries to place me into the vehicle so he can say that the car smelled like marijuana, and then that's why he searched the car, knowing that my vehicle was already shut, doors closed on my vehicle, and I'm standing in the driveway. And he decided to go into my car after the fact that he went through my wallet and found my marijuana card, which I felt was, you know, him just basically trying to set me up for failure because he doesn't want to look bad knowing that he did wrong. Which, of course, you know, that's what the police do nowadays. And then especially, you know, me dealing with a white officer that actually has the audacity to come into court and then say that the reason that he detained me is because I'm big, which I took as another word for, okay, he used big instead of black because black would be racist. So now all of a sudden, in his eyes, I'm this big black guy standing in front of a nice house, which he doesn't assume that I belong there. So he's got acting under what he would refer to as a hunch. He decides to start going through my vehicle, basically. Now, acting on a hunch and doing all the stuff that he did, I mean, he's just basically making up a reason to mess with me and find charges. Basically, he does an illegal search to try and find charges, to try and find some reason to try and get me basically in trouble, or try and prove that, you know, his interpretation of me being this black guy in this nice neighborhood of Southport, basically trying to find some way to prove that I don't belong. So he goes out of his way to try and, instead of going to the door, knocking on the door, asking if I live there, worst case scenario, he doesn't do any of that. He takes it upon his own self to try and come up with some reason why I don't belong there. So of course, after he goes through my car and, you know, finds different things that were in my car, now he feels justified in what he's doing. So now all he has to do is write down, I mean, once he writes down a statement as a police officer, I mean, to the average person, they're going to assume that an officer's doing their job right, and, you know, whatever he says is, 100%, which obviously in this, you know, case matter and probably thousands of other case matters before my time, a lot of officers do this stuff, you know, when they're in the wrong, but they find some way to actually make the other person look bad. They'll say and write down and do whatever they got to do to make it seem like they're just doing their job. And of course, they'll come to court and say, I'm just doing my job, right? So now it's his job to basically come to court and explain to my defense and to the DA and to the judge that I'm some big black guy that obviously is intimidating him, so he places me into his car over, you know, mind you, over a music disturbance, okay? Now normally if it's a music disturbance and me working as a security guard, we either have the police come out and they write you a ticket for a noise disturbance, but 99% of the time we tell you to turn it down if the music's off. Hey, we tell you to turn it down and then we're on our way as a security guard. Even if the police come to the scene, I mean, it still comes down to a chance where the police are going to give you a warning, tell you, hey, we'll either take your equipment if we get called out here again, or you keep your music down, and that's it. Well, since it's me and I'm in a nice neighborhood, I get treated with, well, you're some criminal black guy that doesn't belong here. Well, thank you, West Sacramento Police Department, for hiring Officer Smitty. That's probably a big blemish on the department that you have right there, and any officer like him probably shouldn't be on your force, I'll tell you that right now. But, so he comes to the court proceedings, and basically now he makes me look bad, and this was on December 19th. Okay, well, I'm thinking that everything's going to be dropped. I'm finally going to get my money back, because at that time, when the officer actually went through my belongings, my jacket that I had on, I had $4,700 in cash, because I don't usually keep my cash in the bank. But once I cashed my check for $8,000, I spent some of the money doing some, upgrading in the studio, and I spent some money basically, making sure I had new equipment and, make sure the website fees were paid and everything like that. So, the rest of the money I decided to keep and make sure I had it at the house while I was at my father's house where I was staying. I had usually kept it in my jacket hanging in the closet, but I just so happened to be wearing that jacket while I was standing out in front of the house. It's cold outside. I mean, anybody that's cold obviously would put on a jacket, So I tell the officer that all the money was in my jacket pocket, and he decides to, instead of putting that money into my property, he decides to try and basically take that money from me and say that it's drug money. And so of course, I come to court. I had to basically go through a civil proceeding to where I was due to get that money back and try and get that. They try to basically get me to forfeit my money and say it's drug money, but I filled out the civil proceedings prior to my court arrangements. This was back in probably March when I went to the civil proceeding, and the civil judge out there in Yolo County decided to attach my money from the case into basically the money from the civil portion of the case, my $4,700. She actually, it was a female judge that decided to say that they're not going to forfeit my money, but they're going to put that money as part of my criminal side of the case. So when I hired my attorney, I'm still trying to figure out at what point are you guys going to try and get my money back, which I have proof that this is my money. I have check stubs to prove where the check came from, the state, you know what I'm saying, and a state program, and I still haven't seen that money. I got the check in 2008. I haven't seen the money since 2009 now. I haven't seen that money since April, which I think is a shame. Now, when we go to the court, instead of basically granting me my suppression hearing, the judge decides that not only are they just going to hear the officer's statement, but on the break, after the officer pretty much gave his statement, they told me to go pick up my witness. So they have a break. They told me to be back by 1:30. Pick up my witness, I come back. My attorney does some argument about basically my side of the story, and he decides that he wants to have my witness heard. Now, it just seemed kind of funny. It seemed like it was already set up. They already knew what they were going to do. When my attorney calls and asks to have my witness be heard, all of a sudden the DA argues that she has no knowledge of me having a witness, and if she knew I had a witness, she would have had her officer stated to give some rebuttal. Now, obviously, I mean, I'm not a dummy, okay? I knew, and my attorney knows that she did have the statements from my witness. Not only did she have the statements that he got from his private investigator, but she likely also had the statements from the private investigator that the public defender sent out as well. Because the public defender works for the DA, they all work for the same office, so any information will be most likely easily exchanged. But what ends up happening is, obviously my attorney would know what to file on time and actually have me represented by a witness at that motion to suppress. Well, they didn't let me bring in my witness, which brings me to the point where this is why I'm really upset right now, and I decided that I really need some media attention upon this case matter, because I'm not being treated fairly in this case matter. Not only was it a personal, a racial profiling situation which I'm involved in, but now it's also going back into the court system where basically the Yolo County Woodland court system is trying to cover up for what their officers have done. I'm a black African-American business owner that's been through a whole lot, but I have basically a whole lot going for me at this point in time, and they're attempting to take that all away from me and not give me a legitimate chance to represent myself in court. Okay, now by not allowing me to have a witness into the courtroom, that took away from the judge actually being able to hear my witness's side of the story, to actually give their perspective on exactly what they saw. Now, which now also sets the ground for my attorney basically told me that he's going to file another motion to have my suppression reheard.